San Pablo University here in Madrid, in Spain. I am going to present a summary of our recent investigations at the iVerifier THEU node. iVerifier is a European project funded by the European Commission through the European Digital Media Observatory, and we've been investigating since 2021 the impact of disinformation in the Iberian region. And as part of our research, we have focused lately in the impact of fact-checking in lessening the impact of information disorders. The speed through which information disorders have disseminated has been closely linked to the rise of social media, as proved by several investigations before ours. And this has also called attention to the ways that there are for lessening the impact of disinformation disorders. And amongst these tools, fact-checking institutions have come up as one of the most effective solutions. The number of fact-checking agencies worldwide has rocketed since 2015, especially during the period between 2015 and 2020. The number more than doubled from the barely 150 in 2015 to around 400 in the present decade. The number hasn't gone up much in the last years, but it's consolidated around this figure. And this, alongside the emergence of international networks like the International Fact-Checking Network or the European Fact-Checking Standard Networks, proved the commitment on the part of the different fact-checking agencies to try and create a body of shared values, practices, and methodologies to make the debunking efforts living up to high standards of professionalism. This is particularly important because information disorders have been claimed to be one of the biggest dangers to modern democracies, as, for instance, the European Commission has been warning since at least 2018. But also because in particular moments like around election times, information disorders have proliferated even more than normally, because there are actors that are trying to orchestrate attempts to destabilize entire regions. The political side of disinformation has been pointed out by lots of researchers that have underlined the role of the US presidential election in 2016 and the Brexit referendum of that same year as moments where the interference of disinforming agents have tried to interfere with the final outcome of the elections. But they're not just a one-off case. There have been documented cases in academic investigations that affect the elections of Brazil in 2018, US in 2020, Spain in 2019, or the independence referendum in Catalonia in 2017. The prove the point that disinformation is serious. It's a global threat, but also it needs to be tackled. And this is why we have, in the last years, approached fact-checkers to understand the nature of their work and the routines of production. And we have come up with some ideas that we try to summarize in this presentation. So regarding the content that they have, the Spanish and Portuguese fact-checkers have debunked, especially around the period of 2022 and 2023, which is what has scoped most of our investigations. We have noted, for instance, a higher incidence of political disinformation in Spain than in Portugal, which can be due to a higher degree of politicization and polarization in Spain at the moment, at least. We have also seen that there is a predominance of visual formats, both in static and motion formats over text and others, which contradicts part of the results of previous investigation, but also confirms maybe the evolution of content in general in social media, but especially disinforming content towards a more visual pattern. We've also seen that there are channels that are most likely the vehicles chosen by disinforming agents to spread their contents, and there is a predominance here of platforms like WhatsApp, and also social media networks like Facebook or X, formerly Twitter, and increasingly others like TikTok or Telegram. There is a stated vulnerability of practically all audiences, as the fact checkers that we have interviewed have stated, and also coincidentally with the previous research that we've done before the pandemic that concluded that this information was no longer something that affected specific niches of people. I mean, it does affect some segments of the population specifically, but it's a general threat that no one can feel completely free from. Fact-checking, as we said, has been proved by several investigations before us as a way not only to debunk false content, but also to prevent, as Ian and Rachler proved already in the 2010s, a way to deter certain public agents from disseminating false speech. And here we conducted an investigation trying to see what kind of debunk were fact-checking agencies in Spain and Portugal more devoted to, and what possible prospects for the future can illuminate even a brighter way to lessen the impact of disinformation. And here we detected that there were basically two ways of approaching debunking disinformation from the fact-checking side. On the one hand, combating specific hoaxes that were becoming popular in different platforms, that were gaining momentum, and to try and stop their impact. Fact-checking agencies would just examine the data and see where the flaws could be. But also some of the fact-checking institutions that we interviewed called attention to an explainer format that, rather than addressing specific hoaxes, trying to unveil possible narratives that the hoaxes obey to. This was based on the fact that disinforming agents were trying to disseminate different stories, but as part of a more critical structure. That the hoaxes were not just independent hoaxes, but they belonged to a strategy. So in an attempt to go against that strategy, it was necessary, some of the fact checkers that we interviewed called attention to unveil those overarching strategies to try and see what intentions lie behind. We have found, and this is the last interesting reflection that we wanted to share with you. We found that most of the fact checkers that we interviewed agreed that in the long run, it was way more effective to address those narratives with disclaimer format or even with pre-banking strategies, but they were highly time-consuming. And this was proven by the fact that when we examined the material they produced in 2022 and 2023, we saw that there was still a majority of content that followed the debunk the single hoax strategy rather than the explainer strategy. So here we found a dissonance that was interesting and that could illuminate the path towards the future. All of them, I would say, all of the fact checkers that we interviewed agreed that addressing the overarching narratives, the patterns, was really effective, but their production was not still there. So that's the challenge. The challenge would be to try and find the spaces to dedicate those, to dedicate the time to find those narratives, unveil those narratives, and present them to the people. We have cases of success from the pre-banking side, for instance, which is adopts an explaining strategy that prepares the material before it happens, for instance, before an election, where there's this acceptance of news content that usually makes it very difficult to debunk narratives during the campaigns or around the election. But some of these fact checkers prepared material beforehand. So when the campaign started, they had a lot of arguments to just debunk the narratives in a very quick manner. This can only happen when time and resources of all nature, economic particularly, are devoted to them. So here, the support of institutions like the European Commission is doing, for instance, through EDMO, in the iVerifier project that we're in, is helping us investigate and illuminate in ways that can be helpful to fight disinformation. Well, there might be institutions that are interested in providing resources to these fact-checking agencies to do the type of work that they believe is going to be more effective in the fight against disinformation. They are already doing fantastic work in trying to lessen the impact of disinformation. They are already identifiable brands that people turn to when they have doubts about the nature of certain contents that they are exposed to in different platforms. But in an attempt to improve their impact and to make it even more effective, fighting the narratives is something that can help a lot. So this could be the future pathway for fact-checking institutions. In Spain and Portugal, this is what we've analyzed, but it wouldn't be out of order if this can also be applied to other geographical environments. So thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.